Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there lived a woman named Marlene. At 57 years of age, I have navigated the journey of life with a commitment to simplicity. In the bloom of youth, I took a vow, nurtured two little ones, and adorned the tranquil moments of my life with the joys of gardening, lending a hand at the library, and sharing warm conversations with neighbors over steaming cups of coffee. Drama was never something I sought. And I certainly never envisioned that love or longing would come knocking at my door once more after all this time, especially not in such a manner. I thought that chapter of my life had been sealed away long ago. But then an event unfolded, one that remains beyond my complete understanding. It was beyond my wildest imagination that an event of this nature could unfold in my life. Heed my words and avoid the path I once tread. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a knock echoed through the stillness of the early evening. Having just wrapped up tidying the kitchen, a cheerful tune from the radio still dancing in my mind, I thought it must be Diane returning for her baking dish. She and her husband Peter graced our home for dinner the night prior, a cherished neighborhood tradition we've nurtured through the years. Yet, as I swung the door open, I was met not by Diane's familiar face. It was none other than Peter, isolated. His eyes were swollen and crimson, the sort of crimson that arises not from sleepless nights, but from an exhausting, heart-wrenching weep. The sharp scent of whiskey wafted from his lips, a prelude to the words that were about to spill forth. Marlene, I found myself at a loss for where to turn. It was unlike him. Peter was the sort of fellow who always had a quip at the ready, the kind who greeted you from across the street as if you were kin. Witnessing him in such a state, unsteady and vulnerable, sent a chilling wave coursing through me. With a swift motion, I pushed the door open wider, driven by instinct. Step inside. He entered and paused in the center of my living room, caught in a moment of uncertainty, as if he were weighing the choice between taking a seat or making a hasty exit. With a gentle click, I shut the door, allowing the silence to envelop me. As I lingered in anticipation, after a prolonged hush, he finally spoke. She has departed. In that fleeting moment, my eyelids fluttered closed and then opened again. Diane? He nodded, a lump forming in his throat. She filled her bag this morning, announcing her journey to her sister's place in Arizona. She expressed that she requires some time. A wave of despair washed over me. Little did I know, they had been facing challenges all along. They had always appeared unshakable, transcending the role of mere neighbors. Once upon a time, there existed a bond of friendship between them, a love that wraps around you like a warm blanket, filled with laughter and ease. Would you care to take a seat? I extended my offer with a soft touch. Peter nodded and settled into the edge of my couch, as if wary of being consumed by its depths. I took my place across from him in the armchair, pulling my cardigan a bit closer around me. He clasped his hands together, a glimmer of anticipation in his eyes. I apologized for my sudden appearance. I found myself at a loss for whom to confide in. It's all right, I assured, and I truly felt that way. Yet there was another feeling stirring. Within me, a peculiar sensation constricted within my chest. The atmosphere thickened, wrapping around like a shroud. What did she say? With a voice thick with emotion, Peter shared. She confided that her unhappiness has lingered for years, that I've been caught up in the whirlwind, too distant from the moment. I'm uncertain. I believed we were in a good place. I gazed into his eyes, uncertainty swirling within me, searching for the right words to break the silence. I understood the sensation of a gentle drift, as if time itself was taking a leisurely stroll. My own marriage had concluded in quietude as well, devoid of raised voices or the sound of doors being forcefully shut. Only emptiness remains. A tale that begins with the silence of unspoken goodnights and unfolds into the quiet distance of two lives coexisting beneath the same ceiling. He gazed at me then, his eyes gentle yet empty. Have you ever sensed that you let the moment slip away? As if there was a moment when the words or actions you were meant to share slipped away, leaving a silence in their place. And now it shall remain forever lost to you. I inclined my head with a deliberate slowness. Countless moments, more than I care to acknowledge. Peter leaned in, his elbows resting on his knees, as if he were about to share a tale that would draw everyone in. I find myself reflecting on those fleeting moments, as if they were twinkling lights that I overlooked. She believed, without a doubt, that her presence would be a constant in her life. Silence enveloped the room once more. In the gentle embrace of twilight, a wind chime danced softly, its delicate notes weaving through the evening air. Time slipped away as we lingered in silence, each lost in our thoughts, reflecting on the paths we chose and those we left behind. A subtle change stirred within that stillness, an intimacy that took me by surprise. The heaviness of his sorrow intertwined with an unvoiced emotion, creating a palpable tension in the air. I rose with a gentle grace. Allow me the pleasure of brewing you a delightful cup of tea. He remained, silent, merely nodding, his gaze locked onto the ground, as if he feared it would reveal a hidden truth. In the kitchen, my hands quivered with anticipation as I filled the kettle. Uncertainty lingered in the air. Perhaps it was the closeness of the moment, or perhaps it was the realization that, for the first time in ages, I was no longer viewing Peter merely as my neighbor's husband. I beheld him as a man, and I found myself unprepared for the emotions that began to awaken within me. With a gentle grace, I carried the tea into the living room, setting his cup down on the coffee table, where it met the surface with a soft, melodic clink. The gentle steam danced in the air, intertwining with the stillness that enveloped us. Peter lifted his gaze, a subtle smile gracing his lips. Weary yet filled with appreciation, with a gentle voice, he expressed his gratitude. I settled into the armchair, cradling my mug in my hands, allowing the warmth to anchor me in the moment. The room had settled into a soft twilight, illuminated solely by the warm, orange glow of the lamp at my side. It was as if the rest of the world had faded into the background, leaving only the essence of the moment to unfold. He savored the sip, then reclined, exhaling deeply and deliberately. How peculiar, he whispered. Years spent together weave a tapestry of memories, and when that presence fades, the very walls seem to whisper of a time that once was, leaving the space feeling foreign and empty. I observed him intently. Have you shared your thoughts with anyone else? Is it a companion on this journey? Perhaps it could be your brother? He gently shook his head, a silent tale unfolding in his eyes. I found myself unable to take that step. With you, it feels unique. That caused a weight to settle in my chest. I chose not to inquire about his meaning. Doubt lingered in my mind, casting shadows over my desire for knowledge. Not just yet. In the depths of sorrow, a longing for warmth often beckoned to the hearts of those who mourned. And there was an essence to being seen, genuinely seen, that enveloped you in a sensation of standing at the precipice of something perilous yet exhilarating. Peter placed his mug gently on the table, his gaze sweeping across the room, taking in every detail. It seems this place has remained untouched since Dan's departure, hasn't it? In that fleeting moment, my eyelids fluttered, a brief pause in the unfolding tale. The name resonated more deeply than I had anticipated. It had been nearly 9 years since Dan's departure. It often seemed as if it were merely yesterday when he playfully mocked me for my ferns, drenched in too much water. At times, it seemed like an entirely different existence. No, I whispered softly. In some way, I found myself unable to do so. Peter nodded, a glimmer of comprehension dancing in his eyes. You always appeared so serene, as if you had come to terms with everything around you. I certainly did. I spoke, though my tone lacked the assurance I wished it had, even to my own ears. In due time. Yet, there are still moments when I enter a room and I find myself anticipating his presence. Evenings when I instinctively lay out two settings for dinner, lost in thought. With a gentle gaze, he lowered his eyes to his hands. A moment of reflection washing over him. For years, I've been observing your journey, Not in an unusual manner. Simply observing. You move through life as if you had discovered serenity following the chaos. It filled my heart with hope. Words eluded me in that moment. For quite some time now, compliments directed at men have lost their authenticity. Yet this had a unique essence. It transcended mere looks or allure. There was a profound essence to it, something that pierced the veils I endeavored to conceal. The silence enveloped us once more, yet this time it crackled with the weight of unvoiced thoughts and hidden emotions. Peter took a moment to gather himself. It seems the time has come for me to take my leave. It was never my intention to linger here for so long. As I accompanied him, we made our way to the door together. As he crossed the threshold of the porch, he halted and cast a glance in my direction. His face bore the marks of an inner struggle, as if he were locked in a fierce battle with his thoughts. Marlene, he started to weave his tale, but then hesitated. His jaw clenched with unspoken tension. Patience enveloped me as I lingered in the moment. He finally said, "Last night after dinner, I had this moment, watching you laugh, listening to your tales. A revelation dawned upon me. It has been ages since I experienced such a sense of tranquility." I parted my lips, only to seal them once more. My heart pounded within my chest, a rhythm so intense it seemed to echo in the silence. He offered me a soft smile, his eyes glimmering with a warmth that spoke of deep affection. I apologize if that crossed a boundary. It was something I simply had to express. As I crossed the threshold onto the porch beside him, the cool night air danced gently against my skin. "It's not out of line," I murmured, my voice barely rising above a whisper. "It speaks the truth." We lingered in that moment, suspended in time, our eyes locked, yet our bodies remained still, simply witnessing one another. With a subtle nod, he descended the porch steps, making his way across the lawn toward the shadowy outline of his home. I lingered on his figure until it melted away into the shadows beyond the door. In that moment, I lingered, my heart pounding, caught in the uncertainty of what boundary had just been breached, yet sensing profoundly that the dynamics between us had shifted irrevocably, and I found myself uncertain if I could ever return to the art of feigning that it hadn't happened. As dawn broke, the light took on a new hue, casting an enchanting glow over the world. The light slipped through my kitchen blinds in gentle, dreamy bands, as if the universe was caught in a delicate dance between darkness and brightness. As I gently swirled my coffee, my gaze drifted to the backyard, where the soft breeze danced through the worn fabric of the patio umbrella. In that very backyard, where Peter and Diane had once gathered friends for summer barbecues, the echoes of laughter danced over the fences, creating a melody of memories. Yet now, the atmosphere hung heavy, charged with anticipation. Rest had eluded me. I found myself revisiting Peter's words time and time again, as if they were a record caught in a loop. The scratch echoing in my mind, that moment on the porch replayed in my thoughts, a vivid scene etched in my memory. His gaze met mine not as a mere neighbor, but as a man burdened by unspoken truths, yearning to share what had been kept inside for far too long. Guilt should have weighed on my conscience. Perhaps I did, just a tad. Diane had yet to take the step of filing for divorce. She had merely stepped away for a moment. She had simply vanished for the moment. Yet guilt was not the most prominent whisper in my mind. It was truly remarkable, a sense of wonder. In the quiet corners of existence, where shadows linger and echoes of silence reign, there lies a profound sense of solitude, and indeed a gentle feeling that I had not summoned the courage to acknowledge in many years. By midday, I found myself in the garden, tending to the weeds at the flower bed's edge, when a sound caught my attention. I looked up, and there he was once more. Peter stood just beyond the threshold, cradling a small cardboard box in his hands. As the sun begins to rise, a new day unfolds. I raised my voice, clearing the earth from my gloves. In the attic, I stumbled upon this treasure. Some possessed tomes on the art of gardening. I thought you could find them more valuable than I could. He raised the box ever so slightly, as though seeking to validate his presence. Yet, deep down, we understood that the essence lay far beyond the pages themselves. A smile graced my lips. Absolutely. Summon him forth. A moment later, he found himself back on my porch, reminiscent of the previous night. Yet, in this moment, the burden he carried felt somewhat lessened. I welcomed him inside, and we settled at the kitchen table, sifting through the time-worn books, feigning interest in their pages, as if that was the sole purpose of our gathering. "How are you feeling today?" I inquired. He let out a breath, improved, voicing. It brought a sense of clarity. In this moment, time seemed to stand still. With a cautious tone, he met my gaze and said, "I apologize if I overstepped yesterday. I wish to keep things simple for you." "You did not," I said. Then, after a moment, perhaps the complexities had already woven themselves into the air before either of us uttered a sound, he offered a subtle nod. It caught me by surprise, this unexpected pull towards someone once more. "Not at this moment." "Not in this manner." As I gazed at my hands, my thumb danced along the edge of my mug. "Neither do I." We found ourselves perched on the brink of an uncharted territory, a place neither of us could quite articulate. The rules had shifted, yet the map remained unwritten. And then, in a gentle moment, he extended his hand and brushed against mine. It was neither a grasp nor a request, a simple yet profound gesture, cozy, authentic, calm, and unwavering. I paused for a moment, not from fear, but from a deep sense of wonder at the rarity of a touch that came without any strings attached, only existence. He expressed a longing for the presence of someone who truly hears him, who gazes upon me. His voice trembled slightly on that final word. I gazed up at him, and in that moment, he transformed before my eyes. He was no longer just Diane's husband. In my gaze, I beheld Peter, a man in the midst of a grand transformation, both dismantling and reconstructing his very essence. And a gentle warmth blossomed within me in reply. "I caught a glimpse of you," I murmured softly. He held back, remaining at a distance. He kept his distance from me. He lingered beside me, his hand resting gently over mine, as we both embraced the delicate silence that felt too precious to disturb. At long last, the clock in the living room let out its resonant chime. He cast a fleeting look in its direction and rose gradually to his feet. "I must take my leave," he declared. "It seems I have a few matters to unravel." I guided him to the door once more, my heart weighed down, yet curiously buoyant all at once. Before he ventured into the world beyond, he cast a lingering glance my way, as if to etch the moment into memory. "May I return for another visit?" "Simply to share a conversation." I gave a subtle nod. "Absolutely." He departed, and I lingered at the threshold, my hand gently resting on the frame, absorbing the warmth of his presence that still danced in the air. A new chapter was unfolding, and though we lacked a name for it, I felt deep within that we had both ventured into uncharted realms, not impulsive, not off limits, only the unknown awaits. In that moment, fear faded away, and I embraced the unknown. Path ahead. The days that followed were serene, yet filled with unspoken tales. Peter's visits were not a daily occurrence. At times, it was merely a wave from across the yard, a subtle nod exchanged when our paths intertwined at the mailbox. Yet, when he finally arrived, we settled in and shared our thoughts. Once upon a time, in a realm where silence reigned, there existed a concept so elusive it danced just beyond the grasp of understanding. It was a tale woven from the threads of emptiness, a narrative that whispered of absence and the beauty found within the void. In the story, nothing took center stage, inviting the curious to ponder the depths of what it truly means to exist. In the space between thoughts and words, concerning all matters, reflecting on the days of our youth, the meals that brought us joy, and the stories we never quite completed, moments that seemed trivial in the moment, yet wrapped us in a comforting embrace, creating an atmosphere of warmth and security. He never pushed. I never inquired. We simply occupied the same realm. As the evening descended and the sky began to embrace the hues of twilight, a familiar knock echoed through the stillness once more. As I swung the door open, I found him standing there, his hands empty, devoid of any books or belongings. He appeared serene, yet a hidden depth lingered within his gaze. A form of determination. "May I enter your realm?" he inquired. I silently moved aside, allowing him to go by. He lingered in my living room, hands tucked into his pockets, surveying the space as if it were a new world waiting to be discovered. At last, he revealed, "Diane called Dot. She has a tale to share. Next week, our paths will cross once more." Yet, it seems to me that this is merely a way to formalize matters. A curious blend of melancholy and insight washed over me. One chose not to mark the occasion. I too felt no sorrow for it. The tale has just reached my ears. With a heavy heart, I expressed my sorrow, genuinely feeling it not only for him, but also for the fragments of their bond that had slipped away, for the pieces that could never be mended. With a subtle nod, he acknowledged the moment. I expected to feel more shattered. Yet, the reality is that in this moment, sharing words with you has allowed me to confront aspects of myself I had long avoided acknowledging. He inhaled deeply, then strolled to the window, gazing out at the yard as shadows began to stretch and deepen. Have you ever pondered whether certain individuals enter our lives not to linger, but to reveal aspects of ourselves we may have overlooked? Always, I whispered softly. He pivoted to meet my gaze. "Marlene, I find myself at a loss with this, though the meaning eludes me for now. Being with you brings a sense of truthfulness and simplicity, even amidst the complexities. Your presence brings me back to the essence of being human, awakening, the ability to experience something genuine once more." My throat constricted taut as I gazed upon him, truly gazed. A revelation dawned upon me, one I had never allowed myself to embrace. He wasn't seeking a vow from me. He was taking action without seeking my approval. He was sharing a profound revelation. "I'm not searching for a substitute," I declared, moving in closer. "I seek no answers in return. Yet I understand the warmth of sharing a space with another where solitude fades away." Silence enveloped him, words unspoken lingering in the air like a forgotten tale. Once more, he extended his hand, a gentle and unassuming movement, effortlessly connecting with mine. In that moment, I took a leap without a second thought. We found ourselves on the couch, not engulfed in fervor, nor ensnared in uncertainty, merely existing together, side by side, aware, secure. Outside, the cicadas sang their timeless song. A gentle breeze wafted through the open window, bringing with it the sweet fragrance of lilac. I nestled against his shoulder, and he gently placed his cheek atop my head. After so many years, I found myself in a moment where anticipation and sorrow no longer held sway over my heart. I simply found myself here. As he departed under the cloak of night, he pressed a gentle kiss to my cheek, a fleeting yet profound gesture that lingered in the air. As I lingered at the threshold, observing him fade into the shadows, a sense of calm washed over me, unlike the turmoil I had felt in the past. I felt a profound stillness envelop me. In that moment, I truly felt acknowledged. A surge of vitality coursed through me. Perhaps this has been the essence of it all along. Neither a start nor a conclusion, yet a comeback to my own thoughts, until now, to something genuine,